Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm really excited to be joined today by Sarah Thomas, MAC, LAC, quietly founded the Upper Clarity School of Stone Medicine in 2009 among small groups of students who were meeting in little healing centers. Sarah is a healer and an acupuncturist and educator and is immersed in the clinical and academic experience of ancient stone medicine and future crystal technologies, which we're going to dive into today. Sarah's been honored and blessed to stand on the front lines as a soul healer, sharing treatments day in and day out with some really beautiful souls for almost 20 years now. Sarah, whose secret name is Star Wolf, is the lead instructor at the Upper Clarity School and teaches Earth Medicine conferences all over the U.S. Sarah founded North Carolina's first mineral studies program for healers and guides hundreds of students from all over the world in stone medicine certification trainings. Sarah's Tao is to resurrect the vast and uncharted potential of healing and awakening with stones. And Sarah, welcome. So happy to have you.
Thanks, Grace. Thanks for the intro.
Do you have anything that you would love to add to kind of offer any context for how you're showing up today, or who you are today, or how you'd like the listeners to know you?
I would just like to say that was great. I never know what bio is out there or what is going to be read, and I feel like that was just fine. Thank you so much.
Great. Yeah, I feel like bios are such an interesting thing when it comes to the internet, how they're very fractal, I feel like, or
They
become
are.
that way.
That's a good word for it.
So, well, I would love to jump right in. The primary context through which I'm familiar with your work is through sharing stone medicine and, as you could say, future crystal technologies. And I'm interested in, I also think of you as someone who's just super in your purpose. Like, I think that's a very magnetic thing about you. And I also think it's very rare to find, even in healing circles. And I think that's something that's very important and special that you bring to the world. I'm wondering if you would share a little bit about, you say that your Tao is to share the potential of healing and awakening with these stones and to really resurrect it for where we are in this day and age for humanity. And I'm wondering if you would share a little bit about how you found that Tao and how you've really come to embody it in such a potent and authentic way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was actually just writing an email today to my teacher about why I'm teaching and how I even got here. And, you know, I do believe in us having millions and billions of lifetimes, like staggering amounts, like so many more than we often think of, And I do have something that really feels like I was contracted to be doing this. Like I came into this lifetime with this purpose to bring in, like, to help everybody remember that, like, there's grid work out there in the world, like, and that there's all of these other realms, and that our ancestors and people who had higher technologies, like previous to us on this earth, did this grid work and they linked things up together. And whether you're doing that on the body with stones or acupuncture points, or if you're out on the earth and you're kind of listening to the mountains and you're like, what am I linking up? There's this ancient language about oneness, and I feel like the crystals really embody this. But it's this teacher said this to me once when she was in channel, and she was profound. She was profound. She was actually speaking light language, to be honest. And it was this profound transmission. And she just said to me, I can't speak light language, but she said to me, when you're doing the work here and you're doing the work here and somebody's doing the work here and there's all these pods doing the work, she said. And the thing is that you'll have to link up. And when you link up, you'll shoot off, she said. And that like embodied this whole piece of like, we're headed back to this oneness, and like, how are we linking things up together? And I feel like this lifetime that I'm in is this contract about reminding us all of that. Like there's these like grids, there's this net everywhere, and we can kind of follow that. And the crystallization of minerals like is a reflection of that too. So I'm here on assignment, And it's funny when I say, like, I'm here to help everybody remember, because even when I say that, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
Mm.
You know, it's just this thing happening. And I feel like that's maybe something that other people can relate to.
Yeah. Um, I think there's something really wonderful that can happen when we're really being a conduit for whatever wants to come through us in this lifetime. And some of it's great because when things go totally wrong, it's not our all of our fault, and when things go super great, it's not all our fault either. So I think there's a level at which it probably stays healthy, I thought, for us to like not entirely completely feel like we know what we're doing. um,
Yeah.
that's a working theory that I have anyways. When I'm thinking about how you phrase it in your bio, it feels very much like there's a not a transition so much, because especially if time is not linear, that, you know, ancient stone medicine, and then you talk about future crystal technologies, there's a little bit of like bridging that you're doing there, and you can correct me if that's not a correct interpretation. um, what do you feel that those two things really bring to humanity at this point in time? Why do you feel like this is really a moment? Like if you were contracted in, so to speak, like why do you feel like it would be now? And what do you feel like stones are really bringing to the moment where we are and helping us here?
I mean, I do feel like we're at the end of a cycle, and all the prophecies keep saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all feel that. So it's like, if the end is going to be falling into the beginning, I guess we build this bridge from the end and the beginning. And I feel like people are trying to build this new world, and we are doing that by listening to the old ways. Like, we're like, how can we find an elder teacher that will bring us the old wisdom? And we're all like, how do we find that ancient wisdom? So I think there's this bridge happening for all of us. We're like, what are the foundations that we can stand on within lineage, or something that we can say, well, this is, time tested. Like, these are the stories that are being passed down, and then usher in this new age with that. And that's happening in crystal healing. It's so interesting. Like, this 50 years ago, this explosion happened in like 1972, where everybody started channeling Atlantis and Lemuria, and everybody was like, oh, you need crystals to do all this stuff. But and then everything got quiet again, and it was all discredited to work with crystals, and we all looked silly if we worked with crystals, and that's still going on. But now, 50 years later, it's like, oh, we're remembering that this is actually part of the old ways.
Mm-hmm.
This is something actually in our bones, and we're going to merge. Like, and it's reflective that my teacher, a couple of years ago, one of my teachers taught, like, reminded the world what the word woo really means.
Mm.
And he's a Chinese Taoist priest, and he reminded everybody. And I don't even know if we knew this, but I know the world at large didn't know this. But now we say woo woo, like, oh, crystals are so woo woo. I swear, on every podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody in LA and everything is like, oh, so woo woo. And we say it like it's weightless and grounded in nothing, and it's just something to disregard. And he reminded us that woo comes from the ancient word wu, W-U, which was actually like somebody who was listening. It was really truly somebody who was listening profoundly, like ear to the ground, listening to the divine, listening to nature, devoting themselves to walking in prayer. And then they were so devoted to that that they could bring that to their community. And they were the ones that, if your child was sick, this is where you were going for healing. And it's a really sacred thing. And it was often women, these woo, that were pushed to the outskirts. These women, I mean, who devoted their lives, were pushed to the outskirts. And I remember this in my bones. Like I lived it almost, like, disfigured, ugly, like running away, like refugees, being made fun of, not allowed to train in the schools, and then still, this is where your kid is dying, you're on their doorstep, like, help me.
Mm-hmm.
um so this is something really sacred, and that's another bridge that's happening. It's like we're remembering that that's actually what woo is,
Mm-hmm.
and that woo lives inside all of us. It's not something that's just some woman in the past, or there's this resurrection inside all of us, that we have that inside of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said something about having your ear to the ground. And I feel like that's a way that I sort of think about tracking with what's going on, like tracking with my own inner knowing as well as what like resonance of what's happening on the planet and what wants to come through or what's changing. And stones are literally the ground. They're literally like the ground that you spend a lot of time listening to. What do you feel like is unique about working with stones and crystals, as far as like how they interact with our bodies, with our DNA, with our perhaps even our spirit bodies as well? What's kind of unique about how stones can work with us and we can work with them?
Well, I was just out to dinner with my mom and sister and her friend, and my sister and her friend work in a restaurant, and they're older and they work in a restaurant. Like they pull up to dinner last night, like limping and like in their restaurant clothes, and they're like so stiff because they were on their feet all day. And my sister's friend is like, I have to tell you what's going on with me. Like she keeps asking me to treat her, and she's like, there's just something in my back, and then it's going down my leg, and it's nerve, and I've been to the chiropractor, and they're telling me to do this and that. Like, can you help me? And I'm always like, you know, chiropractor sounds good. I'm glad you're going to that and everything. But and what I really have to offer is, where is this really coming from? Like, what are the spiritual origins of disease? And even though you spent your day on your feet all day, there's always spiritual origin of disease. Like it's coming from something. And when I ask that question, I'm like, what's really underneath this? Because that's what I can help you with. And she was like, well, it runs in my family. Like my
Mm.
brother had this, that my brother had this, my mom had this, and there were signs that I had this when I was a kid. And so see how that goes deep. It goes, what runs in the family goes deep into our ancestry, and that's what's being passed down through the DNA and all kinds of other things too. It's not just like blood and symptoms and things that are being passed down, but those things settle really deep inside the body, and sometimes we carry them for lifetimes. So there's a stones resonate with what is deep in the body because they're deep in the earth. Stones resonate with what is hidden or unconscious inside of us because you can't see them. When you look around, it's like what's underneath everything. And it's
Mm.
like we have this little experience of the tip of the iceberg, but everything that's happening in our lives is coming from our unconscious programs. So we work with stones to get deep into our unconscious programs, moving our karmas, our ancestry, what runs in the family, this programming, this conditioning, what's happening to us, like from eclipses, stars, sun, moon, solar programs. Like these are all things that you can't say in the day to day. I know this is happening because this, but they're actually the things that are running our lives and creating our destiny and our fate. Carl Jung would say,
Mhm.
these are the things that create our lives. So to the ancient Taoists, where they are looking at the body as a hologram for the earth, they would say, oh, it's the crystals. Actually, it's the crystallization
Mm.
under the surface that is going to actually resonate with, be able to pull out like what is in the bones. Yeah, the crystals are like the bones of the earth. So if you just follow that kind of resonance, it's like, oh, this is really deep medicine. We use this for really deep things, really chronic things, things that have been going on for a long time, hidden things, really getting at the roots of disease and spiritual origins of disease.
Mm. Yeah, I think something I feel like, when we are invited into deep healing processes, there's a way that I feel like we really have to go into like not knowing. And I'll say I'll say I feel like I have to go into not knowing. And um, sometimes we're able to get information kind of about like origins and whys and all the ins and outs of why something is the way it is. And sometimes things just can change and we don't have to know all the reasons why the laundry is dirty. Like we can just put it in the wash. And I feel like stones, that depth that you're talking about, is really makes me feel there's sort of a mystery there that we're getting invited into, and that I feel like I've struggled in the past with being able to surrender to some of that mystery and that not knowing, especially when I was younger, as it relates to the healing process. And I don't know if that's a question or if you have anything to say in response to that, but
You totally nailed it. I mean, it's like once the practitioner realizes they don't know what to do and they just let themselves sit with uncertainty for a minute, it's like something happens.
mm-hmm.
But we're so uncomfortable with uncertainty and we're just trained to be so uncomfortable with it. Or when the person who's on the healing journey, like my friend was just saying, for years she's been trying to buy this building and really good intentions around it, and always talking about, I'm going to get there, I'm going to get there. And she got really sick this fall, and she finally laid in bed for 4 weeks, and everything really slowed down. And she ended up getting to a place of uncertainty about her whole life. Like, what do I want to do with my life? Am I even doing what I want to do? And she got to this place where she kind of like let go of everything and was like, I don't even know who I am. And, like a day later, the person who owned this building called her and said, do you want to buy the building in January? What's so funny about the mystery and uncertainty?
Yeah, I think that place of I don't even know who I am anymore is particularly we resist that place so hard, and it is a very powerful one for sure.
Everybody's like there though. I feel like it's up.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think everybody is there on a level, and there's a way that we try to perform that we're not there, and I feel like that can be the block, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm wondering too, when I hear people talk about stones, I've heard some people say, like, everybody should basically give up your stones, put them back in the ground, like they were extracted in this super terrible way. We need to really just be not taking anything else from the earth, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and that's not a vibe that I get from you. And I'm wondering if you would speak a little bit to sort of your perspective on our relationship with these stones and how they come into our lives, ways that we can respect and honor that and do that as mindfully as possible. But also, I think maybe some spiritual perspectives you might have around what that story is as well.
What a great way to ask that question. It's like, let's go into the underworld and explore. Thank you for asking that with such care. Um, I was talking to one of my mentors when COVID hit, and I felt like the world was ending. It just did for all of us for a minute there.
Yeah,
We're
I
like,
think
what is
everybody did
going on?
feel that.
It's like apocalyptic. And I got to talk to her on the phone, like right in that time. And it's long story short, she said the people who will make it through this whole change, this whole cycle ending, are the ones who listen to the protocol of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, so I got to be tucked up to the earth. I've got to be listening to the earth, right? And Lao Tzu once said that the earth gives us our instructions. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm on this journey, right, of listening to the earth. Like, what is she actually saying to me? I mean, I hear what everybody else is saying that she's saying, and putting my ear to the ground and really listening, like truly the transmissions for me. And maybe it's just what I need to hear. But she's trying to teach me about getting this every drop of scarcity out of my being,
Mm-hmm.
and every drop of lack out of my being, because the way she shows her face to me, it's not there. She talks to me and says, these are my precious treasures. Like, they're her jewels. Like, these are my precious treasures. I mean, they're jewels to her, they're treasures. And she holds them out. And when I see them, there's an abundance. I mean, there's no end. There's like I see them in dreams. I see, like, so this is what she's showing me, this eternal well. And I do believe she's tapped into this eternal well. And this teaching for me is about abundance, but more than that, it's just about there's no end to this oneness. And so I'm following her, not feeling like I know what is right for everybody. I'm following her also, like, if I can bring crystals to the world in a way that when we study and we gain knowledge about the crystals, what we do is we bring them for healing. We bring them for recovery for people. We bring them for recovery for animals, for the earth. And something about the knowledge piece of understanding them and then bringing them for healing is some kind of balm. It's like some kind of healing salve for the pain and darkness that's going on with the mining industry, in all forms, everywhere, for everything that we use and all of these computers. And I don't mean to be defensive when I say that. It's like, but everything that we have is pulled out of the earth, and crystals get this, we zero in on that, and that's okay. But everything that we have is pulled out of the earth, and people die all the time, and horrible things happen in the mining industry. And, I can't bring a salve to it. I can't, how we want to make everything better and like put flowers around it and like pretty pictures and rainbows, and like, fuck that. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I can't make it. I just, we have to be sad about. We have to be sad that kids are dying, kids are mining, kids are spending all day working, getting cobalt out of the earth. Like, I can't make that better. But I do, I'm just like, here's what I can do. I can keep listening to the protocols of the earth, like this transmission that I'm supposed to get. And I keep trying to pass that to people. Like, these are her sacred, precious treasures. And if you work with them with honor and love and care, like if you have this love and this honor and you're bringing this into the world for healing, there's something to be said for that. So it's like all of that too is like just drenched in good, bad, right, and wrong. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's all drenched in that. And if my real Taoist teacher was here or Lao Tzu was here, they'd be like, there's nothing good, bad, right, or wrong about mining. There's nothing good, bad, right, or wrong about bringing crystals out of the earth. And like at some point, you get past judgment too.
It feels like too that I don't know if this it was feeling coherent in my head when I was thinking it, and it may not come out that way. Um, it's like the thing that's actually, to me, the issue is how the consciousness of humanity and how we are interacting with receiving from the earth feels like the thing, and it feels like potentially when worked with in a way that is magical, effective, powerful, that those are tools that could help transmute the consciousness of humanity to be able to receive from the earth in a way that is regenerative and reciprocal and magical. So I think it's sort of a tricky thing because we have to be where we are with what we have, and where we are both is and isn't perfect. So
Thanks
thank
for
you
your
for
reflections.
even.
It's like every teacher is like, if y'all could just learn reciprocity, it's like kindergarten,
Uh-huh.
peace, you know. And my other teachers say too, I keep genuflecting my teachers. The other one says, when the consciousness of humanity rises, then all of the problems on the planet will disappear.
It's true.
It's our consciousness.
Yeah, I just the sense that I've been having lately. It's like I even feel like the watchingness, especially of animals in particular, a little bit of trees too. We have a big oak tree in our backyard and we pruned it recently just to help with like longevity and stronger roots. And trees like to be pruned occasionally. And literally from the pruning, and I've always said, like, I just feel like this tree is watching us and like watching over us. Literally, there is like an eyeball looking right at our house that we couldn't see before because there was a branch there. But I get this sense, even especially animals, like they're all just kind of watching us and like watching humanity at this time. Like, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? Are they going to? I really feel that a lot. And a few months ago, actually, I got this really strong message to just like put my heart on the ground. And so I've just been going outside and like laying face down and like putting my chest on the ground. And that's been a very powerful, transformative practice. And now days that I don't do that, which should not exist, feel very disorienting to me. There's something about that resonance. And there's a way that what you're talking about with crystals and stone medicine, there's a way that it's sort of bringing the earth to the heart or vice versa. Yeah. I think I'm
Yeah.
great at not asking questions right now. I'm just throwing things at you.
I like it. I'm like everything that you say, I appreciate.
What are some of the stones that are really speaking to you in your practice right now? Are there some that you see as sort of recurring themes with what healing is needed, whether that's in your life or the lives of patients or people that you work with? Are there any stones that feel like they're sort of really rising up for you right now at this season in your life?
Absolutely. I mean, really over the past like 3-4 weeks, there's been some highlights. I've really been deepening my relationship with the mirrors of nature, the mica and like kind of like the white mirror or the good mirror, and then obsidian, kind of like the black mirror or the bad mirror. And then quartz, pure clear quartz is like what is another mirror, and it has just this incredible neutrality. So it doesn't have this balance, like this bias. Like Mike is kind of like, let's look at your good parts. Let's get a sense of like, let's really look at how beautiful you are, how good you are, like what you've got going on. And then Obsidian's like, let's look at these hard parts. And pure quartz kind of goes beyond that. And it's like, it's just transparency. It's beyond good and bad. And that's a whole kind of higher transmission for me. And so I've been doing a lot of work with integrity in my life. Like, I just am always like, how do I clean that up? Like, what
Mm.
feels congruent? And these stones are showing me that, because I've been working a lot with my own students and myself with authenticity. And so kind of getting all the little secrets out of my body, like all
Mm.
the little lies I tell myself, all the little cover ups I do to myself. This is just what the self does. It's not like different among any of us, but the intention has been like, let's look within.
Mm.
And it's so funny because I find that, like, honestly, it's authentic people that we love, that we want to be around, that we want to follow, that we feel good around, that we feel like everything is going to be okay when we're
Mm.
in their presence. Like, it doesn't matter if they're a rock mason or pruning trees or setting up a water filter in my basement or a spiritual teacher. Like, I think that's what not only are we drawn to, but there's an effectiveness coming from these people. Like, I know this crystal healer, she's so authentic, and all of this work is rippling out from her treatments, and so many people are drawn to her. And you'll notice, like, even a comedian or somebody who is like a performer or something, like, they're actually just authentic. It's like we're all drawn in. So I don't know, I'm interested in that at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so all those mirrors are helping me. um and it's not just that it heals, like, that authenticity heals, but it moves the world. It's like an authentic prayer that's 1 minute long and quiet and maybe not even said out loud, is like, the ripples out are incredible. And then you can have somebody do this whole ceremony for like 24 hours straight of all these like bells and whistles and everything. And if they're trying to be someone they're not, or if it's like striving to become something in a strong way, it's like it won't even have as much power as the one person in their little yard, like laying down a crystal with one tiny little authentic prayer. So I'm interested in it because it seems like it's the heart of power too.
Yeah, I I love that you said that, and this is not at all where I was going to go with this, but it seems to be coming up. So something that I've been encountering or noticing in my own work and in my own life right now is that I think we can only heal or initiate to a certain degree until like the next step has to be power. Like, and I think I love the way that you're speaking about power is this place of like resonating with one's true self is how I'm understanding what you're saying. Which I think also goes back to something I said at the beginning, which is something that I notice in you, like you're in your own resonance. And I think some of the ways that you speak to that, even in your bio, is like, you're really clear on like, my Tao is this, my Dharma is this, etc. Do you mind speaking a little bit for people for whom that language might be new or unfamiliar, a little bit about what you mean by that resonance or how to understand one's Tao or etc.
Yeah, sure. I think I mean destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess when I said Tao too, I mean like kind of my assignment. And but I think of destiny as like not really a destination, but kind of an orientation, because I think that you know, I might be like 20% into my full potential. And when I'm 55, I might be like 30% into my full potential. And I see kind of like every little thing that we do, every little healing, it's just like, can we bump up that percent, just like a 0.5%, 1%? It's like kind of this journey to the fulfillment of destiny and what we came here for. So I guess I have a hard time really even thinking of that without the context of many lives or being a multidimensional being who exists in many timelines, realities, dimensions. Because I feel like this life that I'm in is like one little like mission. Maybe other people don't think that way. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that way. So I'm definitely like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I've been conceiving of destiny. Like, I think we all have purpose. But I feel like destiny is just like this extra thing that we say yes to, or that we're able to say yes to at any given moment, or that's how I've been playing with it lately.
I like that.
And yeah, I think people wrestle with this concept of like fate sometimes when we get entangled with that. And something about it's like, when you have like the Star Wars movies or like the Lord of the Rings or whatever the thing is, there's always this moment like they're living their lives, they're in who they are and their purpose. And then there's a moment where they're like, will you take the mission? Like, will you say yes? Will you go on this radical, crazy adventure where you might die, but you might succeed? It might be great. I don't know. And that feels like the destiny piece to me, I think.
Yeah. Do you know there's people too out there that just really struggle with that? It's like their whole lifetime. They're like, where's that piece? Where's my
Mm-hmm.
piece? What am I doing? And they'll have this bumper sticker on their car that says, like, not all those who wander are lost. Cause they're like, I'm not lost, but they do feel there's like, where's my destiny crystal? I have a friend like that. And it's just, I guess it's just another program you can have.
I think so. And actually, this will be interesting. One of my teachers has been talking about it lately is that like I don't even know necessarily that we have to always be conscious of it in order to be in the frequency of our destiny. I think my teacher's been saying lately, like, where are the acupuncture points on the ground? And then I realized as I was about to say that you are an acupuncturist. But yeah, this way that like whether or not we're like fully conscious or like aware of that quote destiny piece and we're losing sleep about it, it's that like us being here in a body is like channeling something, and we can like be at peace about that, I think.
Well, I like it because it's like saying just being in a body is like your purpose.
Exactly.
Doing something.
Yeah, exactly. Um, if there were, for people who are new to stonework or want to be more conscious about or more intentional about how they're working with stone medicine, what are some of the ways that they can do that? Um, is it like going to the crystal shop and like buying all the ones that you think are pretty and then bringing them home, or putting it by your bed? Like, what do you think? I know I see a lot of people um, it's like putting it in your bra and like wearing it around. Like, what's the thing? Like, if someone wants to be more intentional about it, like what do you advise people do to sort of step into that?
Do you mean like a lot of people have a lot of crystals around, but they might want to be like, okay, what do I actually like? Do I want to do an intention with this?
Yes. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your presence and your perspective and your knowledge of stones. And I really appreciate it. I know the listeners will as well.
Thanks, Grace. It was super fun and easy. I'll see you around.
Yeah, sounds good.